Tonight's encounter comes to you from long ago. We're pulling this one out of the vault. Hi there, Nance, and to everybody listening. Well, here you go. Here's my encounter with the king of the forest, as you call him. But me and my friend, we call him the a-hole of the forest. Maybe even the king a-hole of the forest. But we'll get to that. I was raised in southeastern Ohio with family over the state lines in both Pennsylvania and West Virginia. We are all proud of our Appalachian heritage. But one of my relatives, for a short time, was married to a snooty little thing out of Cincinnati. No offense intended to anybody out west, but she was a real snoot. She just knew she was better than all of us hicks out here. The one and only time that I met her at a family gathering, she was venomously calling us a snake's passel of poster children for the banjo-playing good old boys club, or something like that. It was just a bunch of insults all strung together, and she was trying to sound real smart and snippy. That was her thing. Well, she didn't last long. I'm only mentioning this because, in a way, she was exactly right. All of the men and many of the women in my family, well, we are usually seen sporting muddy boots, flannel shirts with thermal shirts showing from under the rolled-up sleeves, wearing muddy blue denim jeans, and a beat-up hat. And you can bet your bottom dollar our Jeep, SUV, or pickup truck has at least one, if not more, guns stashed away somewhere inside the vehicle, in addition to what we have hidden on our body. Now, we are used to these mountains and these woods. We aren't the kind to run, and we don't get scared, and we don't ever make up stories. Well, unless we're all talking about the fish and the big bucks that got away while we're drinking some beers. But we all know that's just story hour. But none of us had ever seen a Bigfoot. Until one early morning in 2017. I was in West Virginia with a friend on a rather large piece of private property. We hiked in there around 2 a.m., We were following our GPS marks that we had made previously when we scouted the area. We also had walkie-talkies with earpieces in case we needed to communicate without making noise. My friend set up for me in a stand about 100 yards away from me to the east. Both of us had our stand situated and set back from a well-used game trail that had many signs of deer along it when we scouted. Now, there was a minute there that it was too quiet out there as I stood in my stand, and about the time I noticed and started to listen, all the night noises came back, so I shrugged it off. A few seconds later in my earpiece, I heard my friend whisper, "You in your stand?" I said, "Yeah." Then he says, "Well, then there's someone else out here." Now, I was very surprised when he said that. As I mentioned, this was private property, and it's a large piece. This landowner was elderly and partially disabled. He would not and could not have come this far out at this hour of the night. Now, it was close to dawn, and while it could have been someone knowingly trespassing, it might have also been someone mistaking this land for someone else's and gotten lost. So we just sat tight. It hadn't occurred to me just then to ask him what made him think someone else was out there. I'd been hunting with him on and off for years, so I just trusted what he said. I had a red light with me, one that I mostly used when I hunted coyotes because they didn't seem to shy away from it. And it was also good to see the deer in the darkness. But I didn't want to go shining it around out there even though it was low light, just in case someone was out there. It could all go very wrong for me if they thought they were on their land still and that I'm a trespasser. It was hunting season, and people can be pretty prickly about things. So you see, it was a very sticky situation. Now, while I'm thinking about that, I begin to hear something coming out of the east. from the direction that my friend was at. I listened as it came closer. It sounded like a person walking. Now, they weren't worried at all about making noise, I noticed. The sound of someone walking on just 2 legs is a bit different from something walking on 4 legs. 2-legged animals don't overstep their steps. You hear each step, or even hear shuffle, 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 but you hear separate shuffles when they're kicking through leaves. If they're running, it's even more clear to hear. I have to point this out because I've been asked many times how I knew something was on 2 legs. Listen, just close your eyes and listen to a human run. One human. You will hear pound, 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 pound. You will hear a rhythm of one foot after the other hitting the ground. Now, close your eyes, and if you can find a recording of it, listen to the rhythm of one horse or one bear running. You will hear a very different rhythm. Each step is not as clear, and it isn't spaced the same as 2-legged steps. Now, either you can hear this difference between them, or you can't. Me, I can hear the difference. So this sound is getting closer and closer. And for a while it seemed to stop, and then I heard something that sounded like a log being rolled or moved around. Then it was followed by some noises that I can only call scuffling, or maybe it was searching on the ground. I listened to it in the dark, and I wondered what in the world was down there. Then I hear my friend hit the mic on the walkie-talkie 3 times. Now that was our signal to ask, is everything okay? So 3 mic blips back means, yeah, it's all cool. Pretty much any other response or no response means things might not be okay. I hit the mic 3 blips back. Of course, this couldn't be heard anywhere except in his earpiece. Now I wondered what that person or animal or whatever was doing down there. Then I kept listening as they came as close to within, I guessed, about 10 yards of where I was. Then they stopped. I listened hard in the darkness, but I could not hear a single thing for several minutes. That was perplexing. I kept looking into the darkness, but I couldn't make anything out. I hadn't checked my watch because I didn't want to give my position away, but I judged by the sky that dawn was maybe a half hour to 45 minutes away. There was definitely a slight lightening of the sky, but down on the ground below me, it was still hazy and dark. I began to think maybe I'd been wrong and that what I'd heard had actually been a bear or some other animal, and maybe that bear had come to rest and sleep near my tree stand. Now that would not be a good thing. I decided to chance the red light to find out. And I can't say why, but I was more and more convinced that what was down there was not a human. I pulled out my small binoculars, and I held those up with my right hand, and then I lit up the red flashlight with my left hand. I pointed in the direction that I last heard something out there. I reduced my magnification on my binoculars so I could see things close to me. I held my breath for a second or two, sure that I had imagined it all, because I wasn't seeing anything. But wait, there was something. I panned back. Yes, right there, right next to a tree. I caught some bright eyes looking at me. I wondered quickly, what animal had eyes that big that could hang on the side of a tree, bigger than a raccoon's eyes? Then I took in more of its shape. It was using the tree to hide itself. I could see that. Whatever this was, this thing was smart, I thought, because if I hadn't caught the eye glow with the red light, I would have missed it for sure. Even its fur had a texture that made it look like tree bark, and the red light only made it blend in more. This thing was looking right up at me in my tree stand. Its head was tilted up at me in the tree. I kept my hair very, very short. I work a hot job on a road crew all day, so when I say short, I keep my hair buzzed. But even so, I felt the hair on my scalp move. It was standing up or doing something. I don't know what it was, but it was the creepiest feeling I'd ever felt. And at the same time, I felt like my whole body was doing exactly whatever my scalp was doing the longer I looked at this thing. It was really close to my tree. I can't think if I had gotten down from my tree stand and not knowing it was there. It was only maybe 10 steps for me to reach it from my tree to where it was. Now, looking up at me through the binoculars, I saw its face very good. The eyes were wide set, and they were a lot larger than a human's eyes. The face was covered all over with fur, maybe an inch long. The eyelids seemed to have light fur on them. I saw thin lips under all the fur. They were wide, and they had a smooth, leathery look to them. The jaws jutted outward, but maybe that was only because of the way it was tilting its head to look at me. I saw a shoulder and an arm. I know there was more body, but honestly, I could not take my eyes off this thing's face. I also had the feeling it didn't like the red light. Unlike the coyotes, I think it saw the red light. Now, while I'm looking at this thing, I had missed or not heard 3 more blips in my earpiece because suddenly I heard my friend frantically saying my name. He demanded I answer him, but I couldn't. I was in that weird kind of mesmerized and dazed state. I don't know if you've had it happen. You stare at something so long, you're mesmerized. You want to look away, but you can't. That's where I was at. Then I heard him say, "Sit tight, I'm coming your way." Now that snapped me out of it. I did not want him down there near whatever this was. I got the walkie-talkie out, and very quietly I said, "Don't." He asked me why not, what was going on. He could see the red light from where he was. He could see the red light, but he couldn't see me in the tree. I told him I was looking at something, and I think I said it like that. I was looking at something. He said, "Is it the person that I heard?" I said, "Not exactly." Now this thing, I'm still looking at it, and it was looking at me as I was talking in the walkie-talkie. I think it was trying to figure out what I was. And that's okay, because the whole time I was trying to figure out what it was. But the truth was that inside, I knew what it was. It was a Bigfoot. I just kept looking for another answer. Then in my earpiece, my friend kept demanding, "Is everything okay? What's going on?" He was getting very worried, and I could hear it in his voice. It looked away from me a couple times down there, like it was listening for something else in the darkness, but it would always snap back to looking right at me. How did it know I was there when it first came up near me? I was always very good about removing and covering all my scent. I hadn't made a sound, not even once, since my friend said he thought somebody else was out there. And why would it take notice of me up in a tree stand? I had no answers then, and I have no answers now. I've pondered this event over and over since it happened. Now, maybe it was the red light, but I couldn't read an expression on its face. I didn't know if it was curious, if I was in danger, if it was thinking of reaching up and yanking me out of the tree. And given the height that I saw its head against the tree, I believe it could have reached right up and grabbed me with its arms. It felt like we were at some kind of an impasse. I didn't know what to do, so I did the craziest thing ever. I said hello to it. I thought, if there's even a chance that it's some human playing a prank or that I've misread this whole situation, Well, talking might prove it one way or the other. I said hello again, and I still got no reply. I said hello to it one final time, this time louder, almost a yell. I saw its mouth open and its face wrinkled up, and I heard a sound. It was a breathy, hollow, wheezing sound that went up and down in pitch, like it was breathing and smelling through its mouth. That went on for 2 or 3 seconds, then it stopped. And here's where I almost made myself a big batch of panty fudge, as we used to call it in school. That's right, I almost crapped my drawers right there in my camos. This moved so fast, I couldn't keep my binoculars on it, and it came to stand right under my tree. I dropped my binoculars and let them dangle on their cord. Instinctively, I had my .44 Magnum unholstered in a fraction of a second. I shined the red light down, and I had trouble finding it under my tree. It was moving all around the tree, and it kept going just out of reach to where I couldn't fully see it. It's like it somehow knew. Honestly, though, even though I had my gun out, I don't know if I could have killed it. Now, maybe this close, at a perfect downward angle right on the top of the skull, or maybe catch it looking up at me and nail it right in the eye, right to the brain. Maybe. Those things, yes. Then I was confident that I could bring it down, if not with one bullet, then by several. But its size and sense of power and strength, they're hard to communicate with words. I've done a lot of different types of hunting, and without a rifle, this wasn't something that I wanted to try to kill with just my handgun. But it didn't really matter because I didn't want to shoot it. You see, I still had this nagging feeling that there just might be a human under all that fur, that maybe it was a costume. Even as improbable as it seemed, given the size of what I was seeing. I have never hesitated with an animal, but this just still didn't feel like an animal. Now, of course, if it had climbed the tree, tried to get me, or otherwise threatened me, I would have had no choice but to shoot. But the feeling of not wanting to do that was very strong, and I'd try to follow my instincts. They've saved me more than once. Now, very quickly, I saw it move to another tree about 10 yards away. There was a little more light as it was now closer to dawn. I was still uncertain about what to do. I saw it give me one more look. Then it melted away into the darkness on the ground, going far beyond my red light capability, and hidden with all the leaves. I heard it walking away, just as clearly as I heard it walking toward me. I was pretty stunned, I guess, and I only snapped back to it when I heard my friend yelling in my earpiece. He was telling me to hold tight. He was almost there. Don't worry, he's almost there. Turns out I hadn't answered him one too many times. Finally, I got to my walkie-talkie and I told him, everything's okay, don't worry, that I had the strangest thing ever happen. He replied with, "You mean that a-hole in the ghillie suit?" I wasn't sure what he meant, and it wasn't at all clear till I got down from my tree stand and met him in the middle of the forest. He said he heard that person, or that Bigfoot. It was still too dark to spot them, and by the time he got his night vision goggles on, they were almost out of view with all the woods between them. Then all he could see were bits of my red light through his binoculars. Then I wasn't answering him. Then he saw what he thought was some really big guy in a ghillie suit moving in on me, coming close to my position. He saw what he thought was the a-hole in a ghillie suit through his binoculars because I had my red light on it. Now, credit due to my friend. He really thought some crap was about to go down between me and this great big guy in a ghillie suit. My friend did not have a rifle, so he couldn't have helped me from the distance he was at. So he took a chance, dropped out of his stand, and started coming my way even after I told him not to. He really felt I was in danger. And I now think that is what the Bigfoot might have been hearing when he kept looking away. And I think as my friend got closer, that's why it suddenly took off. Suddenly, after all of this, I had no taste to stay and hunt that day. Inexplicably, I felt that I was trespassing on that creature's land and that I needed to leave. I did my best to explain what happened to my friend. And here is another big credit due to my friend. The look on his face was incredible when I told him everything. I visibly saw his face change from an impassive look to a thunderstruck look the very second that everything clicked in place for him. And I saw he believed me. "Bigfoot or not," my friend said to me as we were driving home, "he's still an a-hole." Now that started me laughing. So that's why he's the a-hole of the forest to me. I king him King A-hole of the forest, because he ruined our hunting, and he scared us quite a bit that morning, and I came really close to making panty fudge that I've not done since grade school. Now, I have stayed out of the West Virginia lands when I hunt nowadays. I know that is not the only place they are said to be, but somehow I don't feel right going into what I know is absolutely their home territory. My friend said that it could be easily argued that all of America is their home territory. And I know that is true, but I just leave those West Virginia Bigfoots alone. The red light might have made its eyes seem more strange than they otherwise might have seemed to me on another day, but I cannot forget how intently and questioningly it looked up at me. It was as if it was the first time it had ever seen a human, or one up close at least. I really think it was as curious about me as I was about it. Thank you for listening. You can call me Rick from Marietta, Ohio.